talk more about this first generation of COVID high school students gearing up for college exams, I'm now joined by Dan Yeh. Dan is the CEO of CollegeNode and a tech expert in the field of adapting new tech in educational spheres. You're the perfect man for this interview, Dan. Thanks very much. We certainly appreciate it. Firstly, I am glad I'm old and no longer have to worry about these kind of tests. But for an international audience, please put into perspective how important, how difficult, and how stressful Gaokao really is.
Well, this is probably the most important exam in a Chinese student's life. The previous 12 years of education all culminate to this one exam in which they hope to ace and get into the right college, which then hopefully lead to the right job, right career path, right graduate school. But for most of the Chinese universities and colleges, this exam is the only factor that matters, and this exam alone will determine where they will go. So a lot of them are having nightmares right now, I'm pretty sure.
Sleepless nights and stomach aches, everything. And really, COVID has played havoc with this all-important exam in recent years. How has it affected these college-bound students?
Well, typically the Chinese high school is just a 3-year marathon studying session, and the students are herded together into these studying halls, and it's very common for them to study like 8 to 10 hours straight. However, COVID put a hard stop to everything, and the students have to now study at home remotely. And as you can imagine, it's pretty different to study by yourself at home than to study in school with a proctor looking over your shoulder. So many of the students I talked to told me that they had motivational problems. They would be watching anime where they should be studying, they would be eating. So it's an adjustment process for just about everyone in the country.
Well, aside from that huge difference, also some different steps are being taken to help students take the test this year when it comes to the pandemic. We heard that the monitors in these various classrooms, if somebody appears to be suffering from the effects of COVID, they'll be taken in a private room and be able to take the test there. What do you make of all this? Is this the kind of environment you really want to take something this important?
Well, there is really very little choice, right? You have to take the exam with a proctor to make sure to safeguard the integrity of the exam. And so it's unpleasant. Historically, the Gaokao exam have always been very unpleasant for the test takers. But this year, with the COVID health situation, it's just an additional layer of challenge, which I see the governments are doing their best to make it as normal as possible. But, it's a reality that we just have to deal with.
China's education is also under more restrictions than it was pre-pandemic. Walk us through that and how this perhaps double reduction, if you will, is affecting students.
So the government, in order to make education more equal for all, have mandated that the private cram schools and the private tutors are now allowed to teach subjects which are covered in school already. So the idea would be that some of the students couldn't afford private education, so let's just get rid of it altogether so that it will be more fair and square for everyone. However, the Chinese culture is known to be obsessive compulsive in terms of getting your kids ahead. So I don't think it's actually stopping many of the parents in terms of seeking additional helps for their kids.
Yeah, this is all very fascinating to me and so much writing on it. How is the education industry adapting? There are new government mandates, and do you see further reforms coming down the road?
I do see further reform coming down the road. One interesting development I've seen is the tremendous rise of artificial intelligence in terms of education. Because private education, these cram schools are banned, you are seeing it's in some fields replaced by online lecturing. You're seeing that robots are taking over the teaching of some of the subjects with a clear right or wrong answer, for example, math, physics. And we're still sort of like in the early stage of AI being used to teach students how to solve, test problems. But we are we are definitely moving towards that direction.
Indeed. Dania, thanks very much. I think I'm going to have sympathy nightmares for all these kids in China right now, but we certainly appreciate your insight. Thank you so much.